Welcome to the I Don't Do That podcast, where we get into all the things that we're not into. Na 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 na, yeah, no, I don't do that, no, I don't do that. You know it's alright, you can ask, but I don't do that, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. Episode 6.
The things that I have in my life that are really enriching are things that are tangible. Because for me, tangibility is what works.
Episode 6 is I Don't Pray. We're joined by telephone with Shiloh, who does not pray. Shiloh is an art professor in the southwestern United States. They are in their late 30s and identify themselves as Native American and non-binary. Shiloh, welcome. Thanks for coming to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. That you're my 10th guest.
Yay, number 10.
So we're talking about prayer, and the theme for today is I don't pray. Will you tell me about your history with it? Did you ever pray? Do you remember what that was like?
Yes, so I did pray when I was younger. I was exposed to like the Lakota spirituality and sweat lodges and praying during ceremony. And then I was also exposed to Christianity and like non-Catholic, but I don't know what that's called.
Protestant.
There
Sure.
you go.
Yeah.
It obviously didn't stick. So I don't know anything about it. But so those were the two main ways to pray that I guess. So through church or through ceremony. And my mom... And this is my dad telling me later that like my mom was the one who wanted us to go to church and he was really not that into it. And so I remember being young and the idea of prayer, it was being sold to me as this thing that like would make you feel better, but it just felt like horrible.
I see.
Like it felt like just very, very judgmental. And it was really confusing to me that like you had to kind of give all of your private information away. That's like a way to say it. You know, like your private thoughts and things like that, or your fears or whatever is supposed to go into prayers.
Now, just to be clear, you weren't giving them to another person?
No,
Okay.
not like confessing or anything
Right.
like that. Just the act of praying, you know, to a God.
Yeah.
That was really terrifying to me.
Sure.
And probably is to a lot of people. And it really made me think about like quality of life, I suppose, at like a really young age, and just going like, wow, there's a lot of stress that comes with the act of praying. At least there was that I found in the Christianity way that I was introduced. There was there's like a lot of servitude to it, and I didn't really feel like as a child I should be expected to carry that much of a burden about like my choices in life that made me a sinner.
Yeah. So you were a kid. If I can just like reflect this a little bit. So you were a kid and you thought maybe that God is scary. Is that kind of it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's sort of like and then also that there's some heavy stuff they're putting on you for being a kid.
Yeah, definitely.
And you were aware enough as a kid to realize that, like, I shouldn't have this responsibility, kind of?
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's and or fault, like having just being born like by default bad.
Oof.
Like that's the default setting to all humans is we're all born bad, and then you gotta live the rest of your life making it up to some deity.
And that's what prayer was to you.
Yeah.
Did you ever see another side of it, like that it was comforting, or that it was like that you could like get something out of it, like you could pray for something you wanted to happen or something like that? When you were a kid?
Yeah. I remember being young and there being hope in it, like
Hmm.
this is probably early elementary school, I think. So I remember there being this idea of hope,
Hmm.
and there was kind of a purity that went with that. And that aligned more with what I was getting in with, like doing sweat ceremonies
Hmm.
and doing the Inipi ceremonies, where there was a very different approach to the idea of God or the creator or the great mystery, and how you prayed and what that whole transformative process was like in the sweat lodge.
Hmm. And so in Ipi, is that the Lakota sweat ceremony or?
Yeah.
Okay. And you found that to be more hopeful.
Yeah. Well, it just seemed more like grounded in reality.
Okay. How's that? Because I don't know anything about it. So.
Oh, I mean, it's just like, it was more like, at least for me, like the prayer part of the ceremony. It's just about the really what I think prayer is maybe supposed to be is about getting things off of your chest.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I know that people do that in confession,
Mm-hmm.
but just the act of getting something off of your chest in a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the prayer part of it was really, I guess that's where I found the most relief. To go back to your question, did I ever find any relief in it?
Right.
And the answer is yes, not in the Christianity
Yeah.
religion, but in doing the Inipi ceremonies and some other things that I had participated in as a child through the Lakota way were way more impactful and meaningful.
Uh-huh. So was it kind of like you had more of a Christian influence from your mom, and then like Lakota from is that how it went, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
she was way more. I mean, like when we were growing up in Pierre, we went to a lot of different churches.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
um, and
Maybe
so
she was searching for something, or?
yeah, I think she was
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else then about your early experience with it?
I just really remembering that there was something that felt uh, selfish about it, I suppose, or felt like I'm asking for this stuff and I expect to have it back or given to me or bestowed upon me.
Mm-hmm.
But then that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Because so just like say for example, like I had experienced domestic violence in high school in a partnership that I had then.
Mm-hmm.
Like where was God to stop that moment? Or like how does prayer protect me from moments like that?
Mm-hmm.
When in all reality, like it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like shield. And so I have thought a lot about prayer as a shield. And yeah, it just never really made sense to me that because it's an invisible shield, so it's not going to shield anything.
Yeah. So it didn't feel like you got the results that you would expect to get if you were asking for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said it was selfish in a way?
Yeah, I think it is to ask for things.
To ask
Just to
God.
ask, just to ask God, like,
Yeah.
I don't, it's just like, oh, I want this and I deserve this, so I want this. And it's like, well, we all want stuff.
Sure.
We all need things, like.
Sure.
We all, yeah.
So is this, we're here talking about it. It seems like this is something you could easily hide, I suppose, because it's a very private matter. So is this something that you generally tell people?
Yeah.
Okay. So you talk about it.
I do, because I like people to know that there's another perspective.
Sure.
And to know that that theirs isn't the only perspective. And I mean, so many people do pray. I know that I'm in the minority here, which is
Right.
fine.
That's what the show's about. I mean, I think everyone who comes on is in the minority about whatever they're talking about. So yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah,
I do talk about it, like people ask me, or if someone says, I'll pray for you, I'll just be like, thanks, or, like the kind of response back that I get is similar to when people say like, oh, God bless you, or anything that's kind of related to religious colloquialisms. I feel like there's an expectation to say it back. I'll pray for you. Oh, I'll pray for you too.
sure.
Like it never goes that far with me. I'm just like, okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't really fake it.
No,
Okay.
no, but there are situations where I don't think it's appropriate to bring it up. So like, I won't.
Right.
Um, if there is, and I've been to a lot of like, kind of other religion, um, like parties, other religious parties, like
Uh-huh.
events and things like that. And like I'm respectful, and I just will take moments where there is prayer happening just to be quiet, and
Sure.
reverent for the
Sure.
moment, because I do respect people's right to pray,
Yeah.
obviously.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
so yeah, and I understand how sacred those moments can be also for people who do pray. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have that experience, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to acknowledge people that do.
Mm-hmm.
And in being in a group like that or a scenario like that, then I would just kind of, default into standing position or sitting position, very neutral, and just kind of wait for it to be over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you tell me about a time when that's happened? Just like give me an example.
um, oh man, yeah. I mean, the biggest one that stands out for me is when my dad was in the hospital, and he was on machines. The
Yeah.
machines were kind of keeping him alive. He had had a stroke,
Yeah.
and was in the hospital for several days before the machines were turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And my family on that side is Catholic.
Yeah.
And so there was a priest there, and there were prayers that were being said and things that were being done. And it actually made me really angry.
Okay.
It made me really angry to like have to be in that room with the prayers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not how I would deal with it. But
Mm-hmm.
like I had to let some of that anger go, or just kind of shove it down, and realize that like maybe the anger wasn't for like just because there was prayer there, but that like I'm losing my father.
I
And
see.
it's a heightened emotional experience, you know what
That
I mean? And
that
so
makes
like
total sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's something that you might find a little irritating under other circumstances gets really blown up.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Sure.
So that was a huge example of just like, okay, to Shiloh, just keep your mouth shut, just
Mm-hmm.
put your head down, like
Mm-hmm.
just eat this one for your family, because nobody cares what your beliefs are in this moment. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not about you.
Hmm.
Maybe that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's like it's
yeah.
so you're it does sound like you like, although you said you want people to see that there's another perspective and that you have a perspective that's different than theirs, that you are able to put it aside, and that your perspective doesn't really get in your way of appreciating others.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think that you have to put meaning into your life for you to bring any sort of happiness to it.
Okay.
And that comes from years of being like a nihilist.
Okay.
And just looking around at my life going like, wow, I feel like I have nothing here. I need to like find out what makes life worth living, and it's meaning, like bringing meaningful things or attaching value and worth to things that are in your life, so that you have meaning and create meaning, because that's what, at least in my experience, has grounded me here
Mm-hmm.
in, like in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of people search for meaning and understanding, and they find it a lot through prayer. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for people that are able to find a solution for themselves like that. That just wasn't my path.
So do people extend that same understanding to you that you give to them, or do people ever react in a less than understanding way?
Um, I get subtly challenged.
Okay. You feel challenged, but maybe it's not overt. Yeah.
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 And it's in ways where it's like it's a kind of questions, but people are surprised that because I am native that I don't pray.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some stereotypes that go along with that, and
Yeah, I suppose
I lost my train of thought.
well, people see Native Americans as spiritual.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
It's definitely portrayed that way in popular culture. Yeah.
yeah, so there's some expectation there for me to perform some
Yeah.
sort of spirituality, which I am not interested in doing for anybody.
Right. So, and you feel subtly challenged by that? Is there any examples of that?
Yeah, just I guess people not just kind of saying, oh well, I guess the last example I have is I was talking with a friend and I said, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in anything. And they said, oh, you don't believe in like the spirit of Mother Earth. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess not, not if I, in terms of thinking that the spirit or the earth has a spirit. I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. It's alive as much as we're alive, like I definitely believe in nature and things that happen in nature. And I think that things are unexplainable still. But as we find more out about science, that kind of fills in a lot of gaps for me.
Sure. Where you don't have to say it's a spirit because we know about ecology and biology and seismology and geology and all these other things about the earth.
Right. And about just atoms and the way atoms react. And yeah, so there's a lot of physical things that are happening that I think are just part of the natural world. And so I believe in the natural world. And, I think that it's a lot more maybe magical in some ways than we recognize, but that we keep trying to find answers to like these magical questions. And science does a really good job of filtering out some of those things.
Yeah. I think I feel like we talked about that a little bit with the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that I talked to before about science and about how it answers some questions that were previously in the purview of religion. But now there are more definite answers to those things, or directions. There's certainly like more information about them, and they don't necessarily point where people thought with their spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have friends that I've known for a long time that just assume like, oh yeah, like pray about it. That's their
Right.
that's the suggestion.
Right.
And it's just like, that I don't pray. So why keep telling me to pray, keep asking me to pray? Like a lot of people have told me just flat out, oh, you'll come back to it. And it's just like, when will like that be on my deathbed, when I can find some redemption for like this sinful life that I've lived and like potentially get into some sort of heaven? That's not something I'm terrified of or have any sort of belief about.
The afterlife.
There's like the reward system that comes along with prayer. You ask for something, and then if you're good enough, you shall receive it. Or if you're it's your time to learn something, then you'll receive it, or whatever the justification is that, people tell themselves about prayer and how it operates in life.
Well, if yeah, I mean, whatever it is that makes all this stuff happen to us or to others, I mean, it I would say it is mysterious. No doubt.
Yeah.
I think religious and secular people alike would probably admit at some point that there's some mystery to it.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to explain when you get down to brass tacks. We know things about it, but we don't
Yes.
necessarily know it. Yeah. So do you find like what does that affect your relationship with those people? Like what you think about them, if they kind of don't they don't really listen to you or they don't respect that you don't pray or that you're an atheist.
Um,
Is it make a boundary or something or?
it not really. It's just kind of like, okay, they're not listening. Like I can't make somebody listen to me,
Sure.
even if they're a friend that I've loved forever or a
Hmm.
family member that I've loved forever or somebody I've just met. I can't control that. So I don't really have a whole lot of stake in trying to control that
Right.
situation.
That sounds like a very wise response.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that, like, I can't control how you think about me. So, like, why am I going to try?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or yeah, in my opinion, or your opinion of me is none of my business. I also like that one too.
Yeah. I don't need to know what your opinion of me is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We may have gone over this one, but do you ever feel like you're missing anything? Any inner peace or relief or anything that comes from praying? Maybe that what you were talking about when you were a child that you experienced that hope. I mean, is there anything that that you feel like you're missing?
I have no. The answer to
Yep.
that question is no,
Okay.
and I have fought very hard to sort of declutter my mind of the things that I learned as a child about church or religion or God or
Hmm.
my role in it in the world or who I am as a person or all of that stuff. It took me a long time to really figure out myself and love myself. And in that loving
Yeah.
of myself, that's where I find a lot of security. So I don't doubt my decisions. Wait, say the question again. I always get lost in
Oh,
my
I'm
train
just
of
wondering
thought.
if you feel like you might be missing anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I really don't feel like I'm missing
No.
anything because I fought to bring in that meaning that I was talking about earlier
Hmm.
into my life. And so the things that I have in my life are really enriching are things that are tangible. Because for me, tangibility is what works.
Hmm.
That's how I stay grounded in the world, and that's how I am able to operate in the way that, like, oh, I know, like music, for example, is one thing. Like
Hmm.
I have music, and I have experienced more things that you could call spiritual, if you want, through playing a song that I've
Yeah.
written
Sure.
than prayer, being in any sort of church or and in that way, any other type of ceremony that I've been a part of. Like music to me is just so much more profound. Like
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
probably like the most profound. So things like that, or being able to build something, like just practical things, I think really ground me and make a lot more sense and bring meaning to my life. So I feel like I am very fulfilled with the things that I call into my reality.
Okay. First of all, do you know, like, can you tell anyone how to declutter our minds? Do you have any tips? Because I think a lot of us could use that for a number of reasons.
Well, it really comes down to what I said before, this like placing meaning and value on the things that you already have or the things that you want to bring into your life to enrich it and make it better.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is something that people think that I don't have because I say I don't pray, and it's faith.
Okay.
But I don't have faith in a higher power. Like
Yeah.
I have faith in myself.
Okay.
And I think that it's really difficult for people to have faith in themselves because so many things in society tell us not to, right? Like if you're like, I don't know, unattractive, right? You have like a certain value
Hmm.
in the world because of your attractiveness. So like to be a 4 as opposed to a 10.
Yeah.
um,
So don't believe in yourself if you're not attractive, or maybe if you're not smart or
yeah,
strong or funny or
yeah.
any number of things, I suppose.
So I think it's important to have, or I've had faith in myself to know that like I have been able to rely on myself through hard times, through the worst parts of my difficulties, like with the help of friends, obviously, and family. But I have just shown up for myself consistently throughout my whole life, that I can put faith in myself to know that I will be taken care of, that I will find whatever solution to the problems I face in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, that like I have to trust myself to know that I can beat whatever it is that's going to come into my path, and
Mm-hmm.
not think about it as some sort of punishment that's coming at me because I don't pray. Like it's the opposite of like creating good things in one's life to create a good mind, like a healthy mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating touchstones to go like, oh, there's evidence here that like I did this. And so if I could do this,
Mm-hmm.
then I can do anything. Like I'm a person who I have PTSD and I have depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of my daily life where I have to overcome those things to be able to, and sometimes those things are insurmountable or they feel like that, but I still have to get dressed, go to work, be on for my job. And my ability to do that every day puts more faith in myself.
Okay.
Because it's just like I was able to get out of this situation, and I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my life. And that's just kind of the tidbits that I've gleaned from these experiences, is that I can do it. Mm-hmm. And I've done it without the support of lots of people, and I've done it with the supports of lots of people. So in any situation, I feel like I have to react the same way, whether I have people there or not.
Wow. Yeah. And
so that's how I've decluttered my mind, is really getting clear on believing in myself and having faith in myself, mm-hmm. which is hard. Mm-hmm. That I struggle with that. And so I feel like if I'm going to struggle with that, then why should there be a middleman or this need to pray to like sort it out for me when I can sort it out for myself if I just think about it?
Mm-hmm. So you have like a contemplative process where you sort it out in your mind, like you're thinking intentionally, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so you have belief in yourself, and you create meaning, or you find meaning. What? How does that part work? Because that was the first thing you mentioned about decluttering your mind.
Yeah. So the finding meaning, it's a choice. Like it's a choice to have relationships mean something to you or not. Mm. Relationships are a big one. Mm-hmm. And, or like the things that you have. I mean, I, like I've had this musical idea that I've been throwing around for like over a decade now. Mm-hmm. And, to me, like if I don't finish it, nobody is going to know about it. Nobody's going to care about it, Mm-hmm. But like for me to be motivated to finish it, like I have to put some sort of meaning to it to make it valuable, so that there's so I create a need for an outcome.
Sure. You need to have some incentive, and no one's going to give it to you, so you got to create it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have to attach value to that idea or meaning to that idea, so I can give it some weight, then to give it the inertia of what did you just say the word?
Incentive, I think.
Yeah, incentive. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I have to do that with my work too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's all a choice of the things that we choose to add to our lives, to make them substantial, things like that. And that includes relationships, that can be pets, that can be plants. Those are hobbies also. And I've been lucky enough to have grown up and have been around a lot of creative people and artists, like when I was younger, mm-hmm. And as a teenager. And then I got lucky even still to be able to study the arts and study fine arts, and to mm-hmm. be also still in this really amazing group of creative people.
Yeah.
And so being able to see those people make things. So it's a lot of practical people making things that where I find a lot of evidence in going like, oh, okay, that's meaningful, or they've created this. And so you can actually see the meaningfulness in the artwork.
Yeah, you're talking about tangibility, I think was the word you said. Yeah. And art is very tangible.
Yeah.
It's about as tangible as it gets. It exists. It's there. And it whereas something spiritual is more it's ethereal, or you certainly can't necessarily pin it down, and not everyone agrees that, oh, there it is. Same way with meaning. It's like a subjective thing.
Yeah. So here's another comment I wanted to make before I lose my mind. Is that for my understanding of prayer so we're talking, I think, a little bit about intention, and I have like these if then statements, right? So if, like, let's say prayer is you want to like watch out for your family, right? So people pray every day for their families.
Sure.
And I'm just like, well, shouldn't that be a given? Why should you have to pray for that? Because that should be something that's like a given in your life of like, yes, I want my friends and family to be happy and healthy and live fulfilling lives. Yeah.
I mean, I could see that for a person, I like to argue. I can't, devil's advocate, that's my thing.
Yeah.
So I could see how somebody could do that because they want to keep their family in mind. It's just, it's a reverential thing to something that's important to them that gives them meaning. Or it could be because they're working on loving their family, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It could, either one of those things I think would be a reason to, yeah. One thing I think about is being thankful. Like what you're saying, having meaning, it just kind of reminds me of like things that are good about life and focusing on those, and focusing on, I talked to the people on their ex-Jehovah's Witness podcast, Finding Paradise. I was a guest on there. And so they asked me about my spirituality, and I did talk a lot about finding silver linings. And that might be along the same lines of having faith, like that you were talking about. It's not the same thing, but it's like a construct that definitely gets me through. It's part of my mentality that I realize gets me through.
Well, being thankful. So that's another thing. It's like I am incredibly appreciative and grateful and thankful for the life I had. I mean, I think that just because I don't pray doesn't mean like other people don't pray, and the people who have been very helpful to me in my life have been prayerful people, you know, who have it as a practice and things like that. And so I have been grateful and also humbled by their generosity throughout my life.
Yeah.
You know, so like I am a person who has benefited from prayer in a way that it doesn't come from me, but it comes from a lot of people that surround me.
That's amazing. That's a beautifully positive thing to say, I think. You're thankful for other people's prayer.
Yeah, because it comes from a sincere place of beauty, I think. You know, to care for somebody, if you have that belief and you want to send that out to them, I mean, just that gesture, I think, is so nice, and it's so loving, and it's such a humane thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, just to want to connect to somebody in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. Well, that's wonderful. The sincerity, and it just sounds like meaning. You know, they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It very much does bolster relationships and love. It's very good for that. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say? I feel like we've covered a lot, and you've been very honest and very heartfelt too.
Yeah, I think one other thing I would say, and maybe we talked about this a little bit, but just one of the things I had to give up, which is difficult to do, is control.
Mm-hmm.
And wanting to control the outcome of a situation, and just thinking thinking that one way is going to be the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And I often find as a teacher, you know, and as an artist, a creative person, that there are multiple ways to approach a problem.
Yep.
You know, and there are many solutions to that one problem and many perspectives to be taken into account. And the fact that it might not go the way that you planned, I think is a really good lesson to know that, like, we can't control everything in our lives. We maybe don't control most things in our lives. And so relying on that reality, I think, may be stronger than the idea of relying on the idea of prayer.
Yeah. Allowing and watching, paying attention to what happens rather than trying to steer the whole world.
Yeah.
Or any outcome. Like, yeah, I always say you can't predict the future, but you can't control the future either.
Mm-hmm.
You can do things about it, but you don't really know what the outcome of your actions are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. That's a great piece of insight. You know, that reminds me of the Serenity Prayer, actually, ironically. You know, that you have the...
I may have been to a meeting. I might have been to a meeting.
You might have heard that. You might have heard that prayer.
I might have heard that somewhere.
All right. I'm not going to quote it wrong, but look it up. It's there. All right.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I mean, there's a lot of things that I believe in that are in that prayer also. And I think some things about that prayer are actually really great about, like, giving up this guilt and negativity that people may be carrying around because of their addiction issues or whatever it is that they're dealing with. That brings them to that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some really great insights in that of just, like, you know, allowing yourself to let go.
Yeah. Yeah. That is serenity, letting go, right? Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really feel as though I've been inspired and I've learned a thing or two.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, this has been fun.
So much fun. I want to let people know that Shiloh is nominated for a Native American Music Award. That ceremony will be streaming live on November 19th from the Seneca Den Casino in Niagara Falls. You may also see them giving a presentation at this award ceremony. Additionally, Shiloh will be showing their artwork in the Harry Wood Gallery at the Arizona State University School of Art throughout December. If you liked today's podcast, maybe you want to show your support. Please visit idon'tdothatpodcast.com/give to make a donation in the amount that you choose. That's idon'tdothatpodcast.com/give. It would help us very much, and we'll help you out too by giving you access to exclusive content with a donation of any amount. idon'tdothatpodcast.com/give. And or, if you have an interesting, heartfelt, or entertaining story about something you don't do and you'd like to talk to me and get into whatever you're not into on this podcast, please visit ochotunes.com/guest to apply to be a guest on our show. My name is Ocho. I'm your host, chief engineer, and producer. I also composed and performed the theme song. Shout out to Tyler and Ethan of the Finding Paradise podcast, where they share their ongoing experiences as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. You can catch them on an upcoming episode here, and you can catch me on an upcoming episode there. Shout out always to our sponsor, Anders with Primetime Web. Background music was performed throughout today's episode by Peter Klug. Thanks again to our guest, Shiloh. And thanks to all of you for all that you do and all that you don't do. My name is Ocho, and I'll talk to you again, if I'm lucky. I don't do that.
I have just shown up for myself consistently throughout my whole life, that I can put faith in myself to know that I will be taken care of.